Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts, hold on tight. You're in for one crazy ride tonight on the Josh Nolan Full Throttle Racing Show, #1 on YouTube. Tonight we have with us Tyler Day. Welcome to the show, Tyler.
Thank you.
So, how did your racing career begin?
Well, it began when my parents got married and my dad introduced the whole family to sprint car racing because none of us had any clue what it was. That was back in '98. And I think a couple years later, yeah, '01, I got into a junior sprint, raced it for a year. Um, then I got out of it for a couple years, got back into it in high school and drove for 13 years straight.
All right. How much success have you had as a race car driver?
I'd say a decent amount, but of course, your own view is always a little different than what everybody else sees. I know I've won the Terry Sprague Memorial down in Marion. It was before they made it a non-wing only race. Um, I'd say over the course of my career, I probably had 50 or 60 feature wins, a couple track championships in different classes, and yeah, just overall pretty competitive everywhere I went.
All right. When you climbed in the race car for the first time, were you the least bit scared at all?
Oh, I was terrified because I was a kid. I had no clue. Like I saw these things go fast, and I guess terrified wouldn't be the right word. It was like that nervous excitement, like scared excitement at the same time because it's like, oh, this thing's got a lot of speed, but also, oh, do I know what I'm doing?
All right. How long before the success started coming in for you?
Oh, like I said, I raced a junior sprint for a year and did all right. And then when I got back into it, I ran a restrictor for 2 years. In the first year restrictor, I didn't do too well, but I was young. I was 13 or 14, so a year of maturity makes a big difference. And I come back the next year, and I think I won 13 or 14 races that year between two or three different tracks. And won a couple money races that year as well. It was quite a bit of fun. And then after that, it was always 2, 3, 4 wins a season running an outlaw class. Everywhere we went.
All right. What's an awesome day at the racetrack look like for you?
An awesome day at the racetrack. We get there a couple hours early so we can find a good spot, get everything unloaded, check everything out, and just kind of chill out and go catch up with friends, because I mean, everybody's got their friends and their family outside the racetrack, but at the racetrack, you've got your racetrack family, so you always got to catch up with them.
All right. What's an awesome day at the race shop look like for you?
An awesome day at the race shop is when, well, I'm actually in our race shop right now. I was kind of starting to get our cars ready for this weekend. But whenever we don't have to overhaul the car from a major wreck, and I can tinker with some stuff or have some new ideas to try on set up and get to mess with those. But that's a fun day at the shop for me.
All right. What is your most favorite win you've had in your racing career so far?
My most favorite win, um, I would have to say probably that winning that Terry Sprague Memorial because it was against guys like Joe B. Miller and I think it was Joe Falloon was there, and there's a couple other big name guys at that race, and I passed him and beat him for the win, so that was pretty big. But also another big one is 2014. Jake Palmisano and I were battling it out for the track championship, and there was one of the last five races when they did the NASCAR style thing where they reset the points. Him and I fought for 25 laps straight. I was on the bottom, he was on the top. We were sliding in and out of traffic, trying to kind of not cut the other off, but, break momentum and stuff. But, neither one of us really were able to break away. But we ran 25 laps side by side without ever hitting or touching each other. And that was a very memorable race because afterwards him and I got out, shook each other's hands, gave each other a hug, said, "Man, that's an awesome race." And man, there's very few people in this world I know I could run 25 laps side by side with and not worry about taking them out.
Who won the championship that year?
It came down to a tie. Jake and I both had the same amount of points, same amount of wins, and he ended up winning on he had more second place finishes than I did. Yeah,
Wow.
that was a fun season. That was a very fun season.
All right.
So,
Um, what is the story behind your racing number? Where did that come from?
well, it's I ran my dad's number until I got into the outlaw class, which was 68. But then he told me when I got to the outlaw class, racing with him, I had to find my own number and have my own identity. And I'm a big New England Patriots football fan. So my number is 84, and Randy Moss's original number for the Viking was 84. But also my great great grandmother passed away at the age of 84, uh, all around the same time. So I kind of thought, well, you know what? That seems like a good number, and it just fit and it stuck.
All right. Who do you have for sponsors on your racing team?
It would be Bandit Shocks, Brad McDaniel, B-Max Speed, which is his thing he does to help people with setting up, TW Race Cars, Heath Ross, Pure Max Racing Oil, Competitive Performance Engines, Rod and Supply. I think it's Steve Thomas Bell Helmets. Yeah, yeah, those are all the ones. I actually, if I
Okay.
didn't make it clear, I don't race anymore because I broke my back several years ago in the car, but
Ooh.
I'm the crew chief for the family team.
All right. So how did you break your back?
Well, it was down at Marion. It was we had raced the Hustle a couple weeks before and didn't do so hot, but that's a tough race. And then I went on vacation. Well, we ended up getting back a day early because I can't something happened. We got back a day early, so I said, you know what? I'm gonna go to the racetrack. And it was just a weird thing in the heat race. I was running with a guy. He got sideways on the top and just hit me, like T-boned me, and it was just a perfect combination of it bottomed out the frame and it fractured my T6 vertebrae. I was able to, they had to take me to the emergency room to make sure because, oh man, I've never been in that much pain in my life. Um, but I was in a full brace for 3 months and then it was very limited for 6 months and it took me 3 years to halfway feel normal. So I was like, I raced for 13 years. Some people never get the chance to step foot in one once. So I called it
All
good
right.
there.
All right. Who is your racing hero?
My racing hero, well, there's two of them. I grew up being a huge fan of Steve Kinser, of course, but also Tony Stewart, because not only did I get to watch him race some of his IndyCar stuff and his midget stuff, I got to race with him at Macon several times and got to meet him personally. So and he's just a regular guy like the rest of us, just loves racing, loves every bit of it. Just, you know, he happens to be really, really good at it.
All right. Did you ever get a chance to meet Steve Kinzer at all?
I did a couple of sprint car shows. I was able to meet with him and talk with him, and he's a pretty cool dude too. He was definitely older when I first got to meet him, but it was definitely pretty neat still.
All right. Okay. Okay. Do you have any crazy racing stories you'd like to share with us?
Crazy racing stories. There was a crazy wreck at Coles County one time. It was not too long because turns one and two used to never have a fence or anything, nor did the backstretch. And I remember one night, the track was a little tighter, but it still had a second groove up high, and I was really trying to make it work. And coming at it two, a guy made a move to go up high. He didn't know I was there, but he hadn't made the move the previous few laps, so I wasn't expecting it. And I ramped off his right rear tire and flipped up in the air all the way down the backstretch. The wing came off mid-flip, landed probably 200 feet down, and just flat. Every bit of the car was destroyed. They had to take it off with a fork truck. I walked away clean, but I was like, wow, that's the worst wreck I've ever been in. Like I think the only thing salvageable was the frame and the engine, and even the frame had to be fixed.
Wow. Did you get all on that wreck?
What was that?
Did you get hurt at all on that wreck?
My ego, but other than that, no. Thankfully, that was
Uh,
yeah. See that's what's weird is I had a crazy wreck like that, but then just simply getting T-boned is what broke my back. It's weird how things work like that.
Oh yeah. You have a racing nickname.
Uh, if I do, I don't know it. I, nobody's ever called it to me. Um, so I know maybe the couple years I had a black and white PMP, it kind of had like a bumblebee look to it. That was when I was pretty darn fast. So maybe I had that and I just didn't know it, but not that I'm aware of, no.
All right. What is your home racetrack that you raced on?
Coles County Speedway in Mattoon, Illinois. That's the one I grew up racing. I mean, my grandpa was track president for a few years. Last couple of years, my dad's been the one prepping the track. So I mean, I've been in and around that track for the last, I guess, 27 years at this point. That's kind of crazy to think about.
What is your favorite racetrack you've ever raced on?
My favorite racetrack I've ever raced on? I would have to say it'd be a toss-up between Sweet Springs and Macon. Because I remember for one of the Show Me Showdowns, we went out to Sweet Springs and I qualified out of a group of 43 cars. I qualified fifth or sixth on the high side at Sweet Springs and just ripping it. And that, that it was always fun to go out there for them big shows. And, some of our friends we didn't see a lot like the Kreisels. But then Macon, man, before they took some of the banking out of it now, but before they did that, when we'd run with the midgets and Power Eye, oh man, just all the banking and all the you just running on the fence. Yeah, you get some speed around that track. And I remember
Oh
actually a
yeah.
race at Macon. Uh, it was Jason Harms and Aaron Andrew Scavenge were they're checked out. They were fighting each other pretty hard. I was in third. They wrecked each other. I inherited the lead. And then Brad McDaniel and I actually raced it out, I think, for about 10 to 12 laps. He was on the bottom, I was on the top. And it's funny, we talk about it years later that who would have thought him and I had become good friends, racing together all those years, never really talked to each other.
All right. When you raced, were you pretty good about reading the racetrack?
Uh, I felt like I was like where the grip was for sure, but like one thing I could never quite grasp that some people just seem to have a talent for is if there's a little character or a little bit of a rut forming, naturally there's moisture in the bottom of it. So if you can hit it right, you can really launch off of it. I could never quite hit them right to get the launch like some guys can. I don't know. I just never could. But like I could if it was a nice smooth track. I could hit the bottom perfect every time. I could hit a nice cushion perfect every time. Well, not perfect, sorry. Hit it pretty close because nobody can ever hit it perfect. But man, if there's a little character, some guys could just find a way to put their right rear in it and launch, and I'm just like, I don't know how you're doing that.
Yes. So when you did race, did you like a wet, heavy track, a dry, dusty track, or right in the center?
I like the nice dry slick track to a cushion. Those were always my favorite because making the track that wide, you had a lot of maneuverability. So I could go run the fence, but then if I was ever in lap traffic or something, I could maneuver around, or even like I was telling some of my friends at work today, how there's several times I was leading a race and the second place car kind of caught up to me, like getting through lap traffic, but then I was aware enough to use the lap cars as like a pick. That way they couldn't pass me until we were back in open space. Just playing some of the chess in racing behind the wheel while you're going 80 mile an hour and reacting fast. It's a wild thing. I've yet to find anything in life that quite equals it.
What did you enjoy most about being a race car driver?
Uh, I enjoyed the camaraderie, but really the competitive nature because it was like no matter how good you thought you were, or how on point you were, or how good you had your engine or your setup, there was always bound to be somebody there that was just a little bit better. So you always had to be continually improving, and you can never take off nights. You can never go easy because then there's somebody else trying just as hard as you, and they're never taking it easy. So they'll get you the next weekend. So it's just that competitive edge, and that like you got to go out there and give it your all, and there's more than just going out there and turning the wheel and hitting the gas. Yeah.
Who did you have for sponsors on your racing team?
Actually, very similar ones to now. Like we had Rod End Supply the whole time. We had like Steve Thomas Bell helmets. We've known him forever. We actually bought our first Hans device from him back when they were first coming out. Um, and then like we had a friend who's since passed away who owned a graphics shop right here in the town over from where we live called B Graphics. It was Rick Moss. He was a big sponsor through a lot of the time. Um, and then there's another guy my grandpa's been friends with forever. Um, Patient Equipment. He's still in business now, but he was also a big sponsor of ours. But we've kept a lot of them through the years and added a couple, as we've expanded and tried different things.
All right. What do you like to do for fun away from the racetrack?
Well, I'm a big gamer, so I have a few custom built PCs. One is for like regular kind of gaming, but then I also have a designated racing sim rig that's got the full aluminum frame and the full wheel and pedal things. I do iRacing and like Gran Turismo and stuff on that. So I like to do that a lot in the off time.
Are you pretty good at iRacing?
No, that stuff is tough. It is very tough. But boy, it's funny because my driver, my sister, she raced a lot with us too. But her boyfriend, they've been together for about 6 years now. He's our main driver, and he never really thought the sim could be that helpful until I finally got the aluminum frame and got everything properly set up. And he did it some in the off season before this year, and he's like, "Holy crap!" He's like, "I didn't realize how much of a difference that makes." He's like, Compared to real life, the sim is harder."
Yeah. Um, okay, so let's change gears now. You're a crew member on your family run team. Who races for you now?
So it was him and Devin Feger, the main driver, but him and my sister Molly Day were running together for a few years, but she's decided to kind of take this year off, and actually she started a couple social media channels, like a YouTube channel, I think a Instagram one, and TikTok one for our race team, and it's been doing very well. She's kind of got a knack for it, so much so that actually we've partnered with Devin Myers at Competitive Performance this year to get one of his engines in the car to start with, and hopefully we get a second one in soon. But like that's something that before we had any social media presence, like we didn't even know that kind of stuff was out there. But yeah, Devin Figure's the main driver. He runs Outlaw Wing, and also we got our other car together for stock wing class as well.
Okay, so your family run team, how does one get a hold of you guys to sponsor you guys?
Best way would be to get a hold of my sister. Um, let's see, I think like through the social media stuff, it'd be at Devin Figure Racing. I asked her about it before we started because I thought it might come up. Um, yeah, and then like a TikTok is the Devin underscore Molly Racing. Those avenues are good ways to get a hold of them, or just Facebook, Molly Day. Um, she's pretty good about being the
Okay.
liaison for stuff.
So if there's anybody out here that would like to sponsor this family run team, reach out to those platforms and stuff like that because they'd appreciate the sponsorship on the race cars as they get further into their racing careers.
Absolutely, yeah. We always love to partner with people, and you make lifelong friendships out of it.
Oh yes. Who was on your crew when you raced?
When I raced, it was my sister, my dad, my grandpa, and I. And at one point, my dad and my sister and I all raced in the same class. There was one whole year we did it, and it was wild, and it wore us all out. And after that, my dad, he had been racing for a long time. He's like, "Okay, I'm gonna kind of semi-retire because this is getting a little bit much for everybody." But it was still fun to do, have all three of us out on track at the same time. My mom couldn't even watch, my grandma couldn't even watch. They were just nervous wrecks because of course they'd both seen all three of us wrecked really bad, and then all three of us on track, they're like, "Oh, you guys are gonna give us gray hair and all, stress and all kinds of stuff." But they were still
Yes.
there supporting us.
What types of racing do you like to watch on TV?
Well, I kind of got back into it a few years ago, but my grandpa and I really love watching Formula One. It's kind of our thing every Sunday morning, or I have it recorded on YouTube TV, so we don't have to be up early after a night of racing. But we really enjoy that. And of course, you got to watch the High Limit, and you got to watch Extreme Outlaw Midgets and World of Outlaws sprint cars as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Who's
So,
your favorite Formula One driver?
Max Verstappen. I know that can be a little
Okay.
controversial, but Yeah, I don't know. He's a bit abrasive. He's a bit of a bonehead. But man, there's no doubting his talent behind the wheel.
All right. Okay. What's the best piece of advice you've gotten as a race car driver?
The best piece of advice I've gotten as a race car driver, was don't take anything personal that happens on the racetrack. 90% of the stuff that happens on the racetrack isn't intentional. So don't let it get you worked up and don't let it get you, in your head, because ultimately you can't control your emotions near as well if if you're wound up, and the adrenaline's already pumping in the race car, so it's real easy to go over the top, and then you lose your focus and lose your reasoning. So yeah, my grandpa really instilled in me just keep your composure. Most of the time when something happens, they didn't mean it. That they may have bumped you, whatever. You know, you can if you approach them calmly, you can always talk with them after the race and see. And most of the time when it happened, I went and talked to them, and they said, "Oh no, I didn't mean to. I felt bad for hitting you. It just kind of happened." And it's like, perfect example right there.
What kind of advice would you give a new race car driver?
I would give them the same advice because I see a lot of drivers struggle with that. Um, Heath Ross and I actually recently, we've been really trying to help a newcomer to the TW race car family, Brandon Healy. He was having some troubles controlling some of his motions on track and then getting back off the track, and which he's a young kid, and it's racing, it's a passionate thing, and you got a little bit of ego, a little pride in your performance, and you get upset and a little frustrated afterwards, but we started working with him and show him like the other way to look at it. And man, he's improved tremendously. Just being able to keep his focus and not lose his cool out there. It's funny because after a few races of it, it clicked for him and he realized he's like, I see what you guys are talking about now. He's like, it's way easier to think, way easier to make moves out there, um, than when you're not worked up.
All right. Okay. Who are some of your friends at the racetrack?
Well, like I said, Heath Ross, TW Race Cars, and Brad McDaniel of Bandit Shocks. Those two of the three of us are close enough now. We never thought we would be, that we feel like brothers that we just never had growing up. Growing up, like those two guys, they're my best friends. I talk to them, do anything with them, do anything for them, and they feel the same way towards me. So those two guys are the biggest. But then, like the triplet family, we've raced with them forever. They're still going at the track. Um, like I said, Palmisano, we raced with them forever. I remember when Jake was still in high school and I was a little kid. Um, who else is still racing now? Well, like I said, also like out in Sweet Springs, the Kreisel family. We got a long history with those guys way back to the NMMA days. Great family. Always love to see them. Um, Shoot, I'm sure there's a couple more. I just can't think of them that like are longtime friends. But like new friends are the Leibs. They live just 5 minutes away from us. The Purdue, through Brad, we've gotten to know them well, and um, yeah, there's a few other guys, a few other fans as well. I can't think of, but you make so many friends
Okay.
over the years, it's hard to keep track.
All right. Um, is there anybody else you'd like to thank you for helping you get this far with your racing career?
Definitely my grandpa. Uh, Him, we wouldn't have been able to race because I'll just say it bluntly, he was the one who funded the team, though. And if it wasn't for him doing that, I would have never had the opportunity to race. And I'm thankful every day that uh, he had no problem doing that and enjoyed it. And it was definitely something fun him and I did together, as well as with my dad. Um, so yeah, that's definitely the biggest contributor, enabler in a good way, uh, of my racing. So yeah, I can't thank him enough for everything he's done.
All right. All right. So at this portion of the racing show, Tyler, I like to turn the mic over to my guest. If you have a couple questions you'd like to ask me, you can ask me a couple questions.
All right. Well, I guess the first one, uh, I'll be honest, I hadn't heard of you or heard of your show whenever you reached out to me. So what's your history with racing?
Been a racing fan since I've been 6 years old, and so it's been going on about 30 years or better.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I remember back in the day, Tyler, following Ernie Irvine and Rusty Wallace and Earnhardt and Alan Kowicki and Davey Allison and all them guys.
Yep. Yeah. Those guys were a different breed for sure. I've watched
Yes.
some of the old, I guess at this point they'd be called the classic or historic races, and they were characters, but boy, they were fun to watch.
Oh yeah. Do you have another question for me?
Have you ever raced before or involved with a race
I
team?
never, I've never raced before. You know, would love to have, but never had the opportunity. That's why I went into the racing show biz.
Hey, I get it. You can still be a part of racing. There's lots
Yes.
of different ways. So,
Yes, definitely.
um, well, who was your favorite racer?
Back in the day in sprint cars, it was Doug Wolfgang, the
Oh
Wolf.
man. Oh man. I've heard stories and seen some video of that guy. Oh man. He was
And
lightning
I
quick.
and I've had the pleasure to meet him. Very,
No
very
kidding.
nice guy. Very, very nice guy.
That's
And
awesome.
another one that I looked up to as a race car driver was Mark Kinzer. And actually, I went down to Knoxville Nationals in '99 and had been down there for all 4 nights. And the final night I was down there was walking through the pit area after the races. And that was when Mark won the Knoxville Nationals. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go and see if I can go talk to Mark. Well, his car was roped off because he had won the race
Yeah.
and was standing there. And all at once, this person approached me and said, "Hey, who are you looking to talk to?" And I said, "Well, I'm looking to talk to Mark." They're like, "Well, he's up in the press box doing his interviews, but if you'd like, you can come in the gate here in the fenced in area here, talk to me, and I'll sign an autograph for you. And you can have your picture taken with me." Lo and behold, it was Carl Kinzer.
Oh man. Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
awesome. That's
And I had
awesome.
the
Boy,
I
yeah,
had the
his
I
name's
had
right
the
up there.
I had the pleasure of talking to Brad Doty when I was down there, and
Oh,
talking to Stevie Smith and Lance Blevins and a few other ones while I was down there.
oh, that's neat. That's really neat.
Yeah, yeah,
It's neat to see those guys because you never quite know what to expect, and then you go talk to them, you're like, oh, they're just regular guys, just like me. They just race for a
yeah.
living.
Oh, yes. But I would like to thank you, Tyler, for being on our racing show tonight. You need to know you a little bit better. I will have you step out and I will call you a little bit to thank you, okay?
All right, yeah, it's a pleasure being on here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yep, yep, thank you. Do you know how to exit out, Tyler?
Uh, yes, go ahead.
Okay, yes. So that was Tyler Day on our racing show, talking to us about his racing career and all the ups and downs he faced in his racing career. But if you'd like to sponsor that racing team, reach out to all those platforms that he mentioned. And if you'd like to sponsor our racing show or be on our racing show, feel free to call us or text us at 712-209-7138, or you can email us at jjnolan151@gmail.com.